Good.
Floor is yours. The first presenter is Shimon Anghel, and he will speak about machine learning in meteor sciences. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. It's very nice to be here at the IMC, and I'll just jump straight to it. Before talking about machine learning, we should look a little bit what's happening of a bit of a simpler scale where all the machine learning and deep learning starts from. So imagine we have a streak on an image. That's the image of a meteor, let's say. To get the information out of it, we have to train the machine learning how to differentiate between images like this and other types of images. So for that, we need to tune it a little bit by adjusting the weights. So for example, over here, we have we're going to pass it with a 3x3 filter that has an associated bias to it, a random number, and it will multiply it by a weight. So it will pass by every position over here, every pixel. It will generate an image about the same size because it passes through every pixel, so the outcome would be the same size. If we do it with different biases, different filters for about 8 times, we get 8 filters like this. It's the same. It's going to be the same shape. Then a next step would be pooling. So that means it will take a maximum of brightness from each of the 4 pixels, which will translate to 1 pixel. So we have the dimensionality reduction here until, and then the image will drop to 10 because it's every 4 pixels will result into 1. We continue this with another feature map, another set of convolutional passage through every pixel, and we do it by 16 times this time. And then we have another pooling, and we end up with 16 images with 5 by 5. So if we were to take all these pixels and count them, we end up with 400. So these are 400 neurons. Yes, I think that's going to be better. Yeah. Now, if we take all these data and pass it through some sort of function, in this case would be a sigmoid function, everything what's above 1, it cataloged as meteor, and what is below 1, it can be a false image. So this is a term. This is a method to sort of associate it with a binary output. This is by a sigmoid loss function. So if we look at what's the result, we have a weight and a bias. In the forward pass, we obtain this sort of image by passing through all the pixels. And then by subsampling, we get a bit more information about the brightness. This is by keeping the maximum pixel. And then we can repeat, and you see the sort of the information about the image gets at a lower resolution, but it keeps only the important aspect. It's like squinting a little bit and looking at something, trying to figure out what it is. And by passing it through a sigmoid function, all the results, all the 400 data points, what is above over here, it's cataloged as meteor. So all these data is meteor, and all this data is not a meteor. This quantifies the model error. So now once we have the error, we know the biases because we keep track of all of them throughout the whole forward passage. We have the biases and the weights, and we have the error. What we do right now, we compute what's the error based on the derivative of this function, and then we have the gradient. And now we can track it back and reduce this gradient through all these pixels going back into the loop. So forward pass obtains the weights, the biases, and the error, because we know that this is a meteor, and then we assign it a number here, and we track the error. And now the backward pass computes the error gradients, and what we do on the next step, we update the gradients towards decreasing the error. So forward obtains the error, backward updates forward, backward, and this is how the model learns after each epoch. This is one epoch. So we do it many times, and gradually the model will become better and better. This is very magical when you think about it, but it actually works. Now, another thing to remind ourselves, what is accuracy? So we have the correctly predicted data versus the total over total testing data. So in case of, we have a real scenario over here, we have the true positives, true negatives, over true positives, true negatives, false positives, and false negatives. So this is what it looks like in real numbers. And given all this data, we get almost 89% accuracy. But now, with the same data, when we look at the precision, this looks at the correctly predicted true meteors, not the total data. Because the problem is with accuracy, if we have a lot of false positives, so a lot of true negative data, so false meteors, this would, if we would have about 90% of them false. If the model predicts that 100% of them are false, the model would be correct about 90% of the time. So when we look at the precision, then we can obtain a score that is more relevant to our data. And the recall looks at the correctly predicted true meteors, because as we're interested more in true meteors than in false ones. So then we will get about 0.59 with the same data. So various papers publish various sort of precision, recall, and accuracy based on how they think their model predicts the best. But the idea would be, if we have a balanced data, so about 50% meteors, 50% non-meteors, accuracy would be the same as the precision. So now when we go into machine learning applications, we have the fireball and we need to get to the triangulation. But between this, we have the detection, right? So one type of machine learning application is the detection. Another type coming from the detection to the triangulation is the filtering. Because we have models, we have detection algorithms that we have on which we have the meteors detected through the algorithm, but it can be many false positives, and this is the filtering method. And then once we have the triangulation, then we can apply machine learning for other elements, other applications like orbital analysis and so on, so for the results and to create a new data. So we have all these three methods on which machine learning can be applied to. Let's look at the first one. So we have a paper published by Dakota and Margaret. So in 2020, they looked at 56,000 meteors. It's more or less a biased sample. They applied a deep convolutional learning model. So they looked at, these are the meteors, and you can see the model predicts about 100%. So the best accuracy, they tested about 18 models. The accuracy is 99.8. And you can see here the scores with the training and validation set. We can also detect bolides into the Doppler radar. So as the meteorological radars look for scout the atmosphere, you also have the fragments of the ablation that stay into the atmosphere. So over here we have a Doppler radar network of several stations in the US. You can see here the height of the atmosphere, and most of the clouds or false positives are on the lower end. But you see here, this is the usual altitude of the meteors, so between 120 to 75,000 meters. They get an accuracy about 99.7%, but remember, the problem is they have a number of non-meteors. It's about 1 million. So when they look at recall, the recall is about 41%. because they have a large number of false positives that will be clouds and the small number of meteors. So we have to look at recall in this case. In radio science, we have an application of this is the radio network in Peru. They applied the data to detect the meteors in the radio. They applied several deep learning models to detect meteors in the data. I don't know why I don't have the numbers here, but it's the same team. They looked at some other data as well, and they obtained a precision using YOLO 99%, and then a recall about 94% on the head, and trail echo 89%. So this is one application to the meteor, to the radio meteor data. Another application to the radio meteor data is by creating synthetic images. So these are meteors created in a synthetic data, and also the noise created in a synthetic data. So they produced about 50,000 images, and through this technique, they characterize them. They correctly identify about 70% of them. Meteors can also be seen from space. So this is a sensor on board of the International Space Station. This was designed to observe the debris in the orbit, in the low Earth orbit. So the idea of this would be the sun illuminates the debris, and then this captures the light that is reflected from the debris. So this is made mostly for space situational awareness. But what happened due to the low luminosity that is detected by these the small debris in the Earth, they could observe actually more meteors. So they looked at the meteor data. So far, they observed, publishing this paper, they observed about 140 of them. So they obtained about 97% accuracy. Now let's move to filtering. So once we have the detection algorithms obtaining some sort of meteor-like signatures, then we can apply machine learning to filter them and to obtain only the data. This is done at NASA Frontiers lab. These are two papers. And they applied it on comms data. So with recursive neural networks, they obtained a recall of 89%. Peter worked a bit on filtering also comms data. So they had about 100 meteors manually selected, and then 100 false alarms as well. All this data was manually filtered before. And by looking at the filtering of this data, they obtained a recall about 99.94%. And the important thing is, if you have more examples, about 100,000 of them, then you can have robust statistics, and the models can be trained with many sort of features that would reduce the biases within the models. So then you would increase the score, of course. So this outperforms the experience analysis. Another paper also by Pete, he looked at also comms data, but this time for post-processing, so contaminated tracks. And the result was also applied to CNN. The total recall is 98%, and you can see over here before the filtering and after the filtering, you see over here the eccentricity versus the speed, the velocity. You have less false positives contaminating the data set. Again, from space, this can be seen by lightning imager data. So this is the data which Geoffrey works on right now. and some other collaborators. You see here 2 satellites, go 16 and 17. 16 is no longer there anymore. We have 17 and 18 right now that look at this data across the US and part of the Pacific. And these over here are observed using 2 of the geostationary imagers. So you have the better calibration on this one and some part of the trajectory as well. And looking at this, he divided the data using a sort of principal component analysis, and he obtained a precision of 45% for GO 16 and 41% for GO 17. And running an analysis, he found that they found that a polynomial fit of the light curve has the most important element, has the highest weight in the classification of the model. Because what happens, these are designed to track down lightning, and when you have a fireball that's crossing through the image, it's more like a linear point. So when you have the polynomial fit on that gives you the most important, most relevant information to classify upon. So what they found is that you have larger spikes during the streams, which is a really nice data set to see from space. But right now it's even larger. So you have access to it right now. It's about 9,000 events. And they're publishing a second paper on this. Another work, this time on all Sky 7 data. So Rabea looked at 10,000 of each category using a long short-term memory. They obtain about 99% accuracy. Over here, we looked at data from the Moroi network in Romania. We had about events 6,900 that are false. These are city lights. As these are all sky cameras, they see also flickering lights at the horizon. So we have some city lights as well. And what we did over here is, since we have the positions on the image, we computed some sort of regression features from the positions on the image, and we used that to feed the neural network and then to learn from it. So we obtain a 95%, 96% recall, and using the spatial temporal filter, that means if 2 stations observe the same meteor, we get to 99.7%. Another application, another method was to the Spanish meteor network data. It's also a deep neural network. This is a ResNet that is pre-trained, and they tweak it to obtain a 98% precision. And then we have other applications as well. So one of them would be to detect meteorites. So this is the team from Australia, which used the 42 megapixel resolution camera, and they trained it based on 50,000 meteorite tiles. They take an image like this, and then they divide it into tiles, and then they rotate it to augment the data set to train it that this is a meteorite, and then they take other types of images that signal that is not a meteorite. So they kept 50%, and the detection rate ranges between 75 and 97%, because sometimes you might have a hole that are made out from rabbits and stuff like that, and then the shade, it's dark, and then it signals that a meteorite. Robert also did it for within a campaign, meteorite search campaign in the US. This time they use a GoPro, so 12 megapixels, and by training on 100,000 patches, they reach about the same score, so about 7% negatives and 30% positives, but a 90% accuracy, so a little bit better. In the meantime, they successfully recovered the meteorite in Australia. This is another search campaign, and they they tracked with the drones about 5.1 square kilometer, and the survey area, they surveyed the area for 4 days. So they survey the area and then they process the data and then they go on the field if there are some meteorite candidates. And as you can see over here, we have the first recovery by drones. And now when we put it all together, we have the object coming towards the Earth, and of course the space and the ground base. We have the telescope detection as well, and of course this is how a fireball looks like, no? And then over here it reaches to us. So that was in Chile. This is during daytime at our place. AI uses AI computes the data right now. And then we have the trajectory computation. This is how it looks like, the fragmentation and everything. We have the parent body identification. This is also through AI. Yeah, the cause effect. And now we were in the Netherlands. The drones found it, and we can bring it back to the lab. So it's this is going to the lab, and of course, this is what we want. All the researchers are happy. This is how a researcher looks like. And then we have a party, everyone, of course. And then the Kutnahora team has a party, and then all the community celebrates. Thank you.
Thank you, Shimon. Is there any questions?
We need more footage for AI videos so that we can have more, realistic meteoroid, actually, scientifically based AI videos from here onward. So we need to take more, I don't know, film on the matter or something so that AI can be trained better, because there's so much to learn.
I think this AI was trained on Armageddon movie.
Regarding the training sample, what is the number of frames that you need to train your neural network?
So depending on the training model, there are several models that take the stream, the video stream. So, but this has to be trained before. For example, you signal a part of an image where you would expect a meteor, and then it gets trained on that video, and now it can see it on other videos as well. And this is one type of model that takes the live video input and then signals straight away. This is detection type machine learning model. And there's another type that you have already the software that detects it, but you have many false positives. These are birds, everything, satellites, planes. And then you have to train it on that data after you manually labeled it into meteors and non-meteors. So these are two different approaches, and depending on which type you would prefer, then you have to train it based on your data.
Do we have other questions here? Yes.
More importantly, what AI model? No, it's not that question. But where you see the next steps for machine learning? Because we see about the detections, maybe identifying clouds, and now going further. Where would be the next place to start to apply it? What do you think? Also, now we also have with the drones, so it's kind of going step by step. Where is another pocket that could be used?
So this machine learning is sort of a model that evolves as well. So it's a branch of models that evolve as well. So as our data stems out, then there will be as many applications as our data allows. There are many teams that are doing right now live detection using machine learning models. So they try to implement it in their code straight from the get-go. But what we have right now, another application is that we have all the data that are becoming publicly available of the meteorite networks data, fireball networks data that are becoming publicly available. And this provides also a ground for other machine learning applications into that data to see what we can get out of it. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much once again for the presentation.